We're going to solve these two simultaneous equations by substituting the first one into the second. So if we substitute into that second equation, we're going to get x squared plus, and I'm going to replace the y with 2x minus 3, which needs to be squared, and that's going to equal 2. So if I carry on now, if I remove the bracket from 2x minus 3 squared, remember I've got to be careful and realize that 2x minus 3 squared means all you've got to do is multiply 2x minus 3 by another 2x minus 3, and that is going to equal 2. So I could remove the bracket there using the grid method. So I've 2x minus 3 there, and I'm also going to write 2x minus 3 here. When I multiply these together, 4x squared, here minus 6x, I've got another minus 6x here, and then plus 9. And if you simplify that, that's going to give you 4x squared minus 12x plus 9, and that's equal to 2. If I simplify the left-hand side, I've got 5x squared minus 12x plus 9 is equal to 2. And I can see that's a quadratic equation, so I'm going to subtract that 2 from both sides. And I've now got 5x squared minus 12x, and then 9 take away 2 is just 7, and that equals 0. Now I've got to solve the quadratic equation. I can see that it's going to factorize because the question doesn't say giving your answer to 3 significant figures or 2 decimal places or anything like that. So I must be able to make that into 2 brackets. There are various methods open to me here. I could use the crisscross method. Now the crisscross method, first of all I look at the 5 and I think of 2 numbers that multiply to make 5. Well, that's 5 and 1, can't be anything else. I then look at this 7 and I think of 2 numbers that multiply to make 7. Now it could be 7 and 1, but I realise that's never going to give me minus 12. So let's try minus 7 there and minus 1 there, because that also multiplies together to make 7. I now multiply crisscross-wise, so 5 times minus 1 is minus 5, and then 1 times minus 7 is minus 7. And if I do minus 5 minus 7, I get minus 12. So in fact, I'm there. One of my brackets is this, which is 5x minus 7. And my other bracket is just going to be these 2 numbers, so 1 and minus 1. So my other bracket is x minus 1. And I can see from that that either 5x minus 7 is equal to 0, or that would mean that 5x is equal to 7, which would mean that x is equal to 7 over 5. Or the alternative is the second bracket could equal 0, in which case x minus 1 is equal to 0, which means that x is equal to 1. An alternative here would have been to use the quadratic formula. Okay, we've got 5x squared minus 12x plus 7 is 0. So from that, I know that a is equal to 5, and b is equal to minus 12, and c is equal to 7. So the quadratic formula says that x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And remember that formula is given to you in the front. So if we keep going, minus b, well if b is minus 12, then minus b is going to be 12. So it's 12 plus or minus the square root of, or b squared is going to be 144, and then it's minus 4 times a, which is 5, times c, which is 7, and all of that is divided by 2a, which is going to be 10. So if I keep going, it comes out as 12 plus or minus the square root of, well, that's 144 minus 140 divided by 10. In other words, it's 12 plus or minus the square root of 4 divided by 10. And if I keep going, that's the same as 12 plus or minus 2 divided by 10. So that gives me my 2 possible values of x. Either x is going to be 12 plus 2 divided by 10, well that's 14 over 10, which is the 7 over 5 that I got in the other way, or x is going to be 12 take away 2 divided by 10, well that's just 10 divided by 10, which is 1. So the same solution as before. So we've got 2 possible values of x, and for each of those 2 possible values of x, I've got to find the possible value of y that goes with it. Okay, so first of all, for x is equal to 7 over 5, y is going to have to be, if I go back up to the top, to find out what y is, I'm going to substitute into one of these two equations. Well, the first one's easier, so y is going to be 2x minus 3. In other words, it's 2 lots of 7 over 5 minus 3. So that's 14 over 5 take away 3. And 14 over 5 take away 3, well, that's the same as 14 fifths minus 15, sorry, 14 fifths minus 15 fifths. In other words, it's going to be minus a fifth. So I now know that when x is 7 fifths, y is going to be minus 1 fifth. I'll come back to that in a minute. My other solution is x is equal to 1. And when x is equal to 1, y is going to be, again, 2x minus 3. So that's 2 1s minus 3. Well, that's just 2 minus 3, which is minus 1. Now, I've got to make sure when I give my solutions that I give them in pairs. So in other words, I'm going to write x is equal to 7 fifths, y is equal to minus 1 fifth. That's one pair. Like, I could even bracket them together. Or my alternative is x is equal to 1, y is equal to minus 1.